As you lecture around the world and you lecture in front of Christian groups and present this thesis, what, if you can generalize, what is the response and the give and take as you present this more complex model?
Well, I would say that most people seem to like it. I don't think that the simple model is being followed by scholars anymore. It's pretty hard to find scholars who are following this model that the Essene Judaism generated Christianity. And there's a very big reason for this. It worked before the scrolls were all available. During that period up to 1991, when the scrolls were still being kept secret, many of them were being kept secret by the editorial team, you could claim this. But then the turning point started when Yigael Yadin published the Temple Scroll, because this was an entirely Halakhic text and simply has no relation to the rise of Christianity. And then when afterwards the whole corpus was made available, it caused a balanced point of view. And that balanced point of view came out something like what I am talking about here. So what turns out is that most people studying the scrolls ended up with this balanced point of view because it's really what the scrolls talk about. I can mention here a colleague, Devorah Dimont, who was the first to completely classify all of the scrolls, even though many of them are very fragmentary, into these three groups of Bible, apocryphal-like, or whatever you want to call that second group, which we call non-sectarian, because they're not only for the Dead Sea sect, and the so-called sectarian group. And once she completed that study, which I think was about 1992, 93, this also pushed the balance greatly. That was a very important article that she wrote. I remember we were in the research institutes 2 years or two out of 3 years, within 3 years, 2 years together, sitting in offices. And I was watching her collect all of these photos of all these scrolls and figure this whole thing out. And it had a very big impact on the way we understand the balance of the material and what it all is. So to a great extent, the turning point started with Yadin, because in 1967, he got the Temple Scroll during the war. And the Temple Scroll was first published only in Hebrew, but then in English. And by the 1980s, it was having the effect of making clear the extent to which this sectarian group was Halakhic, Jewish law-oriented, which then started to call forth a whole lot of questions about how could we really think it's so proto-Christian, since Christianity very quickly got rid of many of the very same laws that are stated in these texts.